Have you ever dreamt that you were transformed into an androgynous aerial acrobat? Well, I haven't, but I have played Nights into Dreams on the Sega Saturn. Nights into Dreams, one of the few Sonic Team games to not actually star Sonic the Hedgehog. It was released for the Sega Saturn in 1996, and, well, it's Nights into Dreams. I really don't mean to be vague, I'm just so unsure of how to actually describe this game. In it, you play as Elliot and Claris, who are able to transform into knights, this dream thing that flies through the dream world of Nightopia and apparently helps children to fend off nightmaring and achieve higher self-confidence and defeat the evil wise man or something. I'm going to stop attempting to understand the world and plot of this game and start talking about the actual gameplay. Apparently, Nights was conceived of while Sonic Team was trying to find an effective way of bringing Sonic the Hedgehog over to the Saturn for his first ever fully 3D title. As such, Nights does share some resemblance to Sonic if you squint your eyes hard enough at it. It's a high-score game with a really unique gameplay style. Each level is broken up into 4 zones called mares with a boss fight at the end. The goal is to gather enough of these colored chips to deposit into the Idea Capture and then head back to the Idea Palace to start the next mare. But if you want to get a good enough score, you're going to want to keep looping around the mare before you return to the Idea Palace to rack up as many points as you can before time runs out. Once the timer hits 0, you lose all of your points and transform back into whichever kid you're playing as, and you've got to get to the Idea Palace before the alarm egg wakes you up, ending the dream. What the hell am I saying? At the end of each mare or zone, you get a ranking based on your score. These are then tallied at the end to give you a final ranking for the entire level. You can also earn a bonus of up to 2 times depending on how quickly you can defeat the end boss, which can help put you over the top for getting that coveted A rank. So before I talk about the actual movement mechanics of this game, I have to mention the Sega Saturn 3D Control Pad, or the SS3DCP as it's commonly referred. This controller may look awkward, but surprisingly, I think it's the most comfortable analog controller of the generation. Yes, even more comfortable than the PlayStation's DualShock. Nights was designed with this controller in mind, and it shows, but don't worry because this game can be played with a standard D-pad controller. Right, so this game is actually pretty damn fun. What you're going to want to do is try to deposit 20 colored chips into the Idea Capture as quickly as possible. Doing this activates bonus time, which multiplies your score for going through rings, collecting color and star chips, and, well, basically anything else that would earn you score points. When you go through rings or collect chips and stars back to back, you start a link. As you would expect, the bigger the link, the bigger the score. Like I said earlier, to get the highest score, you're going to want to loop around each zone as much as possible without running out of time. This is going to require you to come up with a solid route for each zone of each level that's both fast and allows for huge link combos. Knights is able to boost to gain speed, and if you fly in a tight enough circle, you'll do a paraloop, which can suck up collectibles and defeat enemies. So yeah, the controls are pretty simple, but this is one of those games that looks simple on the surface while having a decent amount of depth once you get into it. You can probably already tell just by looking at it, but it's so satisfying to nail A rank runs through the stages in this game. The speeds that you can reach make it easier to see how this could have possibly been a Sonic game in its early stages. When it comes to presentation, Knights does not disappoint. It's a Sonic team game, so you already know that the music is going to be phenomenal, but the visuals here are also really impressive for this being Sonic Team's first ever 3D title. Knights also features these things called Nightopians, which apparently you can interact with in some way to affect the dream worlds that you play through. The manual doesn't really explain how they work, and there's not a ton of info about them online either, so I'm not really sure what to make of them. Honestly, I went through my entire playthrough without hardly noticing these things, so I don't think they're very relevant or interesting. And you know what? That's about all I have to say about Knights. Yeah, this game really doesn't offer you that much when it comes to content. There are 8 stages, 4 for Claris, 4 for Elliot. That's it. I beat the entire game and got A ranks in every stage, but there's nothing else beyond that. This is something that's bugged me about Sega for such a long time. It seemed like they never really understood that home console games needed to offer players more than arcade games did back when they were still making consoles. It's frustrating because Knights is such a beautiful game with so much potential that I feel is wasted because it's simply too damn short. You could beat this game the same night that you bought it. Hell, you could beat it twice in the same night that you bought it. Once upon a time, there was a version of this game on Xbox and Steam, but that's currently been delisted from those online marketplaces, and who knows if it'll ever come back. That version of the game featured enhanced graphics and true widescreen support, so if you can find a way to play that version, I'd highly recommend it as opposed to tracking down an expensive Sega Saturn copy. Despite its lack of content, I still do like Knights, I just don't love it. It's good, and you'll most likely have a decent amount of fun with it, just don't expect a wide breadth of content like you'd see from something like Super Mario 64, which came out the same year, just saying. Speaking of dreams, I'm gonna head to bed. Better set up an alarm egg or something so I don't oversleep and miss the next episode. It's Nights into Dreams for the Sega Saturn.